What's up, everybody? This is Mike with Rare Dankness Nutrients, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to use our calculator on the website. It's one of the easiest ways to figure out how much you need to weigh out in order to mix up your feedings. So the first thing that we will do is click on the calculator button at the top of the page. And then you can see it takes us to our calculator. There's some instructions here at the top, and then it's got some boxes down below where you're going to enter in some information. First thing being the EC. So you can click on the feeding chart button there, and it'll take you to our page with our recommended feeding charts. You click on the chart, it'll expand it. So the first chart at the top is going to be our low strength feeding chart. This chart is going to be recommended for anybody growing in a system like deep water culture, aeroponics, nutrient film, really any type of system where the plant is constantly in the water that has the nutrients or the fertilizer in it. You want to use this chart here at the top. The next chart we have is going to be our standard strength feeding chart. This is going to be for most normal feeding strategies. If you're going to do any type of daily feeding, crop steering, this is the chart that you're going to want to look at. For the medias, it's going to be any of your peat medias, rock wool, or any other type of hydroponic media that's going to allow the nutrient to be available. The next feeding chart that we have is going to be for anybody growing in any type of cocoa media, either cocoa bags or blocks or a potting mix that contains cocoa in it. Anything with cocoa is going to hold on to the nutrients or the fertilizer a little bit, so you're going to get a little bit of nutrient loss within that media. So this is basically just a slightly increased version of our standard strength chart. This way you're not having to use any CalMag additives. If you do happen to see any CalMag deficiencies on plants that are, definitely CalMag hungry, if you increase the veg and the bloom parts slightly, either one depending on what stage you're in, it should take care of any of those CalMag issues. The next chart that we have is going to be the maximum strength feeding chart. This is intended for people growing in large outdoor containers. This is for somebody who is feeding heavy feeding once or twice a week, and then watering plain water throughout the rest of the week in order to sustain the plant. If that sounds like something that you're doing, then the maximum strength feeding chart is going to be the one that you're going to want to look at. And then at the bottom, we have our standard strength feeding chart again, but this one is going to be in teaspoons per 5 gallons. So this is for someone who may not have access to a scale and not able to weigh it out. We always recommend that you do weigh it if you can, but if not, you can use this chart down here, and it's going to be teaspoons for every 5 gallons. So that's a breakdown on our feeding charts. If you guys have any questions, please email me at info@raredanknessnutrients.com. Now, if you go back at the bottom of this page, if you're used to using ppm, this is going to show you some quick conversions from ppm to EC. We prefer to use EC because, as you can see, depending on where you are in the world, ppm can be different, but EC is always going to stay the same and be constant throughout. So that's why we prefer the EC measurement. So now that we have all the information that we need, we can go back to the calculator and enter everything in. At the top, you're going to see some instructions. The first box, you're going to enter in your desired EC. For this example, I'm going to use a 1.5. The injector ratio for most people is going to just be a 1. This is going to be for anybody that is feeding their plants the water that they're mixing directly. You're going to want to enter in a 1 into this box. I'll be doing another video that's going to go over concentrates and how to use this if you're using something like a dosatron or an injector system. The final box is going to be however many gallons you're going to want to mix. So for this example, I'm going to use a 5-gallon bucket, so I'm going to put in 5. And if you hit submit, it's going to show you exactly what you need to weigh out to mix up your feeding. So if you're going to do a veg feeding, you're going to want to pay attention to the base veg and the veg information. So for the base veg, you're going to want to use 4.56 of the base, and then for veg, you're going to want to use 17.08 of the veg feed. Now, if your calculator only goes to tenths, don't worry about that too much. If you round up or down to the nearest digit, you'll come up with something really close to what your desired EC is. And then you can always add water or add a little nutrients to adjust. If you're mixing up a feeding for bloom, you're going to want to look at the base bloom. So for bloom, you would use 7.4 grams of base. And then the bloom column, you're going to use 16.52 grams of the bloom formula. So that is the basics on how to use the nutrient calculator. It also has information on the clone formula, and this calculator in particular defaults to 1 gram on the Fortify per gallon. However, we typically recommend about 0.25 or 0.5 grams per gallon when using a nutrient drip or a nutrient feeding system of some kind. As always, thanks guys for watching the video. Like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions. You can also reach out to me at info@raredanknessnutrients.com if you have any questions about anything as you're using our nutrients. Your success is important to us at Rare Dankness Nutrients, so please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. We always want to make sure that you are good to grow.